Hello, this is Ross.
This is Fedor.
And this is Teisu.
And we're from cheapwatchreviews.com. .com.
So today, what we have in front of us is actually a pretty special watch. It is the Helson Skin Diver.
And this is the original version. There is actually a newer version that's slightly wider and has a sapphire crystal instead of an acrylic crystal, but this is kind of the more true to form Blanc Pang 50 Fathoms vintage homage. And that's why we're reviewing it.
Yes, it's, as you can tell, it's very similar to the original. We have the patina colored indices on the dial and on the hands, so giving it that vintage look along it, as well as the gold colored markings on the bezel. But I'm going to first tell you a little bit about the movement, and it is our tried, tested, and true ETA 2824-2, which, I mean, if you've listened to a few of our reviews, or watched them rather, comes in quite a few watches, especially some of these boutique brands. So, yes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the case itself. It is 41 millimeters in diameter, so a little bit on the smaller side compared to some of the dive watches today. It's about 14.5 millimeters tall, so this is, I guess, on the taller side, but it still has a slim enough profile to where I'd feel pretty comfortable wearing it with just about anything. And as you can see, the lugs have a pretty nice curvature on them, so it's actually pretty comfortable to wear. And the lug width is 20 millimeters, so if you wanted to replace the rubber strap, you can easily swap to just about any bracelet or NATO or Zulu band, which we actually like as well. So Teisu, why don't you talk about what I talked about?
Tell us a little bit more about the ETA 2824.
Yes. So as Fedor mentioned, this watch has the Swiss made ETA 2824-2 movement, and to you and I, that means it's a very good movement. And as you can see, it has day complication at the between 4 and 5 o'clock, and it is a hacking movement. And as you can see by the smooth action of the hand, this runs at 8 beats per second. So overall, very reliable movement. Ross, what is the accuracy do you typically see with this watch?
This watch I usually see in about the 12 to 15 seconds per day, which is about what you typically see with an ETA movement that's not regulated, kind of the base model ETA movement. In the power reserve, I usually see between 38 and 42 hours, which is also pretty standard for this movement.
Right, and this movement is recently getting more rare to find, so it's a very special watch to have that movement.
So to tell you a little bit about the styling of this watch, this is really closely modeled after the Blanc Pang 50 Fathoms. They had a whole bunch of different designs for that line of watch originally, and this is kind of from the 1950s era. And this comes in a variety of different styles. This has the kind of orange patina style loom, but they also have a standard C3 loom, which is more of a green. And this has just kind of circular indices, and they have a version that has the Arabic numbers. But some of the cooler things about this is this does have a domed acrylic crystal, which is very kind of true to style and looks really, really cool. Has some kind of really nice lighting effects. And also the bezel is loomed and has a acrylic coating on it as well, so you notice that that's really shiny. And the loom, works pretty well. It's, super luminova. Maybe it's not quite as good as Seiko's, depending on how much is applied. But it is really nice loom, which is cool.
And actually, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the bezel itself? Because that's actually kind of an interesting part of this watch.
Yep, so it does have a 120 click bezel. You notice that the edging, the coin edging, is just on the top, which you might think there wouldn't be enough friction to turn it easily, but it does turn easily. It has a very nice engaging feel. You can hear it clicking. It's very solid, and it is a 120 click bezel, so you can time both minutes and half minutes. And Fedor, do you want to tell us a little bit about the water resistance?
Yes. So it's kind of interesting because this is rated at 100 fathoms. So what that translates to is about 182.2 meters. So I guess we'll call it an even 200 meter water resistance. I think they just did it for the nostalgia effect. So that's why they called it 100 fathoms. So we do have the screw down crown, which has pretty decent feel to it. It's not one of the finer movements or feeling bezels, or rather screw down crowns, but it feels okay, right? I mean, It's not bad. We have screw down case back, also adding to that water resistance, which has a really nice design. I actually like how wide it is, and what you'll notice is it sits flush to the case back, so it just gives it a really nice, clean look. And I know it's the back of the watch, so you don't often see it, but it's one of those things that's nice to know, and when you wear it yourself, it just feels nice having a nice flat surface. How many times did I say nice in one sentence?
4.
5.
At least 7. 17.
8.
Billion.
8.
4.
4. And Taesu, why don't you tell us about the strap?
Okay, so the strap, as you can see, is made from rubber, and it kind of has a very interesting carbon fiber-ish texture to it, which has a nice touch.
Tropics.
It's called tropical
Style, but
style.
Tropical.
And the tang has brushed stainless steel finish to it with the Helson logo on it, which has a very nice touch to it. So overall, a very nice strap, very comfortable to wear. And it's vanilla scented.
Vanilla.
This is that awkward part of the video where I sniff the vanilla.
Okay, Fedor.
And to close this out, let's take a look at how it looks on the wrist. I have a slightly larger wrist ever since I've had surgery. It's probably closer to the 7.5 and 8-inch wrist. But even though this is a smaller case than we might typically see it for 42 millimeter, I'd say is kind of the middle ground. This is a little smaller at 41. It looks really nice on the wrist. It does look. Fits a lot of different situations. Not too tall. Doesn't look like something you bang on doorknobs and stuff like that. So really cool watch.
Well, and another thing I'd like to add with the case, the lugs actually add to its substantial look and feel, in my opinion, as well, because they do extend a little bit further out than some of the other watches. So it gives it a very nice presence on the wrist. And as you can see right here, do you mind turning your wrist a little bit? This is a limited edition watch, so this is number 234 out of the batch. So these aren't that easy to find, obviously, but there are a multitude of other watches in the lineup that you can still get.
Yep.
So overall, really cool watch, just very fun to own in the collection because it's a looker. It looks different from many of the more modern styled watches, and well, quite frankly, we can't really afford the original 1950 50 fathoms Aqualung, the Blanc Pain. Why do they name their brand White Bread?
Because they like toast.
Toast?
Yes.
Did you know that if you smell burnt toast, sometimes it's an indication of a stroke?
Yes, that happens to me regularly.
It does?
Burnt toast, not strokes.
Oh, myth busted.